Welcome to LOQation, Cabrini College's weekly news program. I'm Parisa Ghaffari.
And I'm Ricardo Shepard, and here's your news now.
A 21-year-old Westchester University student has been missing since Thanksgiving. Shane Montgomery was last seen at Kildare's Irish Pub in Manayunk. His family, along with the owners of Kildare's, the Grog Bar and Grill, located in Bryn Mawr, and the Student Government Association at Westchester University, are offering a $31,000 reward for reliable information. Hundreds of people have volunteered to help find Montgomery, and the FBI is now involved. I hope everyone is ready to ring in the holidays. Just around the corner, Wayne Hotels will be hosting an old-fashioned Christmas, starting with a Christmas tree lighting Friday, December 5th from 5:30 to 7:30, and then continuing on Saturday, December 6th, there will be a Santa parade at 10 a.m. along Lancaster Avenue and then ending at the Wayne Hotel. Cabrini has been thinking of new ways to keep students involved on campus. This semester, they allowed students to paint the hallways of the residence halls to try and keep the campus looking beautiful and give students a chance to have fun with their new friends.
Cabrini College is always sure to keep students involved with on-campus activities, but this semester they've taken it to a whole other level. Students have been given the chance to paint the hallways of their residence halls. Many students took part in this and painted things ranging from motivational quotes, Disney-themed ideas, and other things they wanted to see every day they walked out of their room.
I think it makes everything look a lot brighter. It's more inviting when the students walk down the hall instead of blank walls. It's exciting to see color. I painted a dream catcher. I also painted the beach scene. I helped a little with the ocean, and I did some flowers. We had a lot of fun. We painted for about 3 or 4 days. I think we took on the paintings.
Cabrini made the decision to give students this opportunity in hopes to create a stronger community in the residence halls. Currently, these paintings are located on the east side of campus, but hopefully will be moving to the other halls as well.
And that was your trip around the block. Let's check in with Howard Blake to see what's new at sports.
The Philadelphia Eagles defeated the Dallas Cowboys 33-10 on Thanksgiving Day. The Cowboys were the heavy favorites, but the Eagles claimed the victory. The Eagles' defensive line was the difference maker, and LaShawn McCoy rushed for 159 yards, while Mark Sanchez threw for 2 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. The Philadelphia 76ers, to no one's surprise, are terrible. Sitting at 0-16 on the season, the Sixers are playing for moral victories. The effort is there, but with a subpar roster, they haven't been able to get wins. They look to snap their losing streak against the Minnesota Timberwolves on December 3rd. The Cabrini men's basketball team had 2 consecutive losses against Scranton University and number 7 Dickinson College. The Cavaliers are still young, trying to gel and find their rhythm with a team filled with freshmen and a few upperclassmen. Spring semester is almost here, and that means the start up of the spring sports season. Let's check in with some of the coaches to see how the teams are looking this year.
I guess the big changes would be just having the new players on the team. This year I think we have a unique situation as far as the season coming up. We're going to play University of Colorado as our opening game in February. Our non-traditional season's a little bit later. What we normally do is a handful of practices, and then we scrimmage. The past couple of years we've been scrimmaging Chestnut Hill College. So we did that. It was great. We were very successful in it. I was happy. Usually the goals never change. The hope is just getting ready, and I take each game one at a time. The ultimate goal would be to make the NCAA tournament and, make some noise in that. The primary goal when we initially start out is we want to be able to make the playoffs and the CSAC, and then also be in that championship game, which in turn would give you that automatic game in the NCAA tournament.
The fall we were on the field from mid-September through mid-October, so I thought we were pretty productive. One of the big things is we want to stay healthy, so we were relatively healthy. We had an opportunity to compete, did a day with the alumni and an inter-squad scrimmage, and then we went down to Baltimore and participated in a fall ball tournament down there. Well, every year there's going to be some changes just because your seniors from last year graduate and your freshmen, and we had 2 transfers coming in the fall. So yeah, we know we're going to have to replace some of those guys that were a big part of our success. So, you know, 1 guy or 2 guys is not going to replace that group. We need our entire class, you know, our new players to step in, and we need the guys that are returning to kind of step up and take on new roles and really assume the leadership of our program. So I would say our goals are each year are going to be relatively the same. We may take a different way to get there each year because the group's going to be a little bit different. But I would say it's to compete at the highest levels of Division III college lacrosse. It's to be a really well-balanced team offensively and defensively, and to really obviously appreciate the opportunity that we have to compete at a very high level each day.
Well, our preseason is over now. We started in September and we finished in October. We have 15 days, and luckily the weather was great, so that was a good thing. And the girls worked hard. They really came up and they practiced and they did everything we asked them to do, and they gave everything. They gave it their best. And we lost 1 senior last year. We lost Jen, but we had 9 freshmen coming in, so that was the big difference right now. We had a large freshman class that came to Cabrini, so we had a lot of girls that we had to look at. So that's a difference. Whereas before the numbers weren't so great, but now our numbers have really been built up, so which is good. Our goal is just really to get the girls to perform as best they can, to work as hard as they can, to become the best they can.
And that was this week's sports news. Let's send it back to Ricardo at the news desk.
Earlier this week, the Supreme Court weighed in on the ongoing Elonis versus U.S. case on where to draw the line when it comes to freedom of speech on social media platforms. Elonis claims that his writings were solely used as a therapeutic method to help him cope with the sadness of his torn marriage, and that he had not intended to frighten anyone. In spite of these claims, Elonis was convicted and sentenced to nearly 4 years in prison for his writings. The moral of the story is, for all those using social media as a means to express thoughts and feelings, be careful and be aware of what you post, and know that there can be consequences for your actions. In other news, President Obama had requested funds from Congress to pay for 50,000 police body cameras for local law enforcement departments. After the Ferguson grand jury failed to charge a police officer for shooting an unarmed man, protesters around the country rioted against policing injustices. The body cameras will provide evidence of encounters between police and civilians, particularly in disputed cases such as the Ferguson shooting. The White House believes that with these new efforts will help build and sustain trust between communities and those law enforcement. Evidently, HIV is evolving to become less deadly and less infectious. Researchers at the University of Oxford say that the virus is being watered down as it's adapting to our immune systems. Despite these exciting and new findings, HIV is still dangerous and could cause AIDS. Some virologists believe that if we were to let HIV run its course, then humans would become more resistant to the virus than we are today, and HIV infection would eventually become almost harmless. And those are this week's big issues. Students recently traveled to Georgia to protest for the SOA Watch. Let's take a look at the experience and how this trip impacted them.
This vigil is permitted. It is also important for you to know your rights, and for anyone who might be considering any act of civil disobedience, or what I call divine obedience, for you to know what your rights are.
What the SOA is, it stands for School of the Americas, and School of the Americas, what it is it takes it's a school in the United States. It's around Fort Benning, which is in Columbus, Georgia. And it brings Latin Americans over to the United States from their homelands, such as like Guatemala and Honduras. So all Latin American students come from their home countries to the United States, and they're taught war tactics, torture tactics, extortion, you know, all these different awful things that we don't really use, and are also human rights violations our own military is teaching these students. So they're brought over to the United States to learn these things, and then when they graduate, they're sent back to their homelands. And when they're sent back, they are really, you know, they're told, protect the United States. So they're given U.S. military guns and say, protect the United States. And some of the graduates, most of the graduates, have become huge warlords and human rights violators. So a group of 12 students and 3 Cabrini missioners went to Georgia this year, and it was amazing. we went down there. Again, this is my second time going, and we had a wonderful opportunity to stand in solidarity with people from all around the world, from Canada all the way from El Salvador, and to stand with people who understand why this school needs to be absolutely 100% shut down. And it was incredible. We were able to visit some workshops on things from all different topics, from children at the border to deportation to climate change. And then we also were able to go to the Stewart Detention Center. Was absolutely incredible, where we had an opportunity to see 5 people cross the gates, and they were arrested. And you would normally think that that's something that is kind of crazy and stupid to do, because why would you want to spend some time in jail? The reality of that is that now they will have a court hearing, and they will have a case where they have to explain and defend themselves as to why it was necessary that they crossed into an area where there is no trespassing allowed. School of the Americas is not discussed at all, and I mean, it is discussed, but it's not discussed enough. And that's the reality, is that students and faculty and even people in Fort Benning need to know about this topic. And it's really difficult listening and going to these events and being there for the second year and like hearing about everything, and then realize that it's been going on for 25 years and seeing that like nothing has happened to like change anything. And to hear stories of people who have truly suffered and have worked so hard and to become who they are and have been tortured at the hands of American military and soldiers who have taught graduates how to act is absolutely ridiculous.
We shall overcome someday.
Thank you, Mackenzie, for sharing your experiences. Hopefully this will encourage more students to go on the trip next year. Now let's send it over to Morgan for your entertainment update.
The Kardashian family is clearly satisfied with their bodies. Kim K posed nude, and now pregnant Kourtney Kardashian poses nude for Jour magazine. She shows her breasts, baby bump, and well, everything else. For her third child, Kourt looks great. She was styled by Monica Rose, and her photographer was Brian Smith. Kourtney says nudity is something that she is not ashamed of, and she feels for her best when she's pregnant. Congrats, Kourtney, on your third baby and a great photo shoot. The honeymoon is barely over, and Snooki's husband, Giovanni Laval, pleaded guilty to DUI charges. They have 2 kids, and he's already acting like one. According to E! News, his license will be suspended for 90 days, and he will have to complete 12 hours of drug and alcohol education classes. What do you guys think about this current topic? Tweet us at LOQation News with your thoughts. Is someone coming down too hard on Ariana Grande? Singer/songwriter Bette Midler is. In an interview with The Guardian, she speaks about the new music and how degrading it can be. She specifically nailed on Ariana Grande and her new BF, Big Sean, and how they express too much PDA. She notes that they post pictures on Instagram making kissy faces. I guess Ariana has a little stalker on her hands. I totally disagree with Miss Midler. Ariana, I love the pictures and the new relationship. Keep giving me more life, Miss Grande. This was your famous entertainment update. Now let's head over to the news desk.
Thanks for joining us this week. For LOQation Weekly News, I'm Parisa Ghaffari.
And I'm Ricardo Shepard. Be sure to stay up to date with us by following us on our social media. Simply search LOQation News. Have a good winter break, Cabrini.